What's going on? We're recording. Welcome back to the Workman Network. We got a good one today. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and also getting a response from an industry expert. I want to welcome you guys to myself and Christian Marshall. Anything you want to say, Christian, before we get this thing rolling?
Nah, I'm just glad to be here, man. I'm rolling with emotions, baby. So we good.
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I'm saying? We're gonna definitely talk about some good things. We keep it flowing in terms of content. So I'm just excited to see what it is we're talking about with AI because a lot of people
Yep.
don't know about it. So I'm interested to see what's going on right now currently myself. So
Yes, sir. So we're going to start with Mark Cuban. So I'm going to bring him on
See
up.
over the amount of change we're going to see over the next 5 years, 10 years will dwarf everything that's happened over the last 30. We went from automating pen and paper, right, with spreadsheets, to connecting PCs into local area networks to,
Right. Connecting them
connecting people
to each
locally,
other.
locally, right, to connecting networks to get the internet, to getting the network effect of communicating people globally. But now we're introducing artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, et cetera. So, and what that enables is the automation of automation, right? And so the people who were writing software, particularly at the lower end, unless you're doing
Right.
these advanced things, they're gone. Right? The people that
Because
would
the software's writing itself.
it's doing itself, right? It's just math. Programmer back in the day, so when I was writing code, it was the algorithms were if this, then that.
Right.
X or whatever it may be.
Right.
But you had to guess, right? You had to use your best instance. And then it got smarter and smarter and smarter, and libraries to do bigger and better things. All that is being automated. And so now you have to know how to use that stuff. So either software works for you or you work for software, and once the software takes over, you're gone. Right? So unless you understand that, you don't understand that the nature of work is changing, the nature of employment is going to change, and from a business, from a stock perspective. If you're in the Fortune 500, if you're an S&P 500 company, if you're in the Dow 30, right? If you're one of the bigger companies, you already know this. And in talking to a lot of these big companies, they know their workforces, and given the supply and demand of stocks, the supply is shrinking,
Right.
and the demand is going up just as the economy grows. That's probably good news for stocks over the long term, but it's bad news for employment, and it's bad news for people who are disrupted.
Well, anyway,
So yeah, let's just pause it right there. So based on what you heard so far, what's your thoughts on that?
I think I really agree with them honestly, just in terms of the trajectory that technology is on right now. Like I went into this. I went and I went around, walked around the college campus the other day, and I saw all these little delivery bots like delivering their food. So now you're talking about, okay, how is that going to affect like DoorDash, Uber Eats, the people that's driving around delivering these foods, right? You think about even when it comes to like transportation. Like I feel like eventually a lot of things, certain things will be automated. It may be a while before it actually gets to like truck drivers, like transportation, just because of the safety aspect and things like that. But I think he's absolutely right. Honestly, it's just a matter of time because the whole point of machine learning and is to basically have a problem. Like you have a problem, you have something going on, right? Whatever that scenario is for it not to take the information that was given to it and use that, but to learn from it and come up with its own reasoning, right?
Exactly.
And pull from all different sources and stuff like that. So it's almost technically basically another human, right?
Yep.
It's basically another human. It's human learning. That's why it's called machine learning. It's not meant to it's not meant to be like any other piece of equipment where you use it for what it's used for. Nah, it's meant to learn its own and do it on its own. So I think eventually with time I can see that taking over different jobs, different spaces. I wanted to ask you, um, have you seen AI being used in your industry in terms of whether it be real estate, whether it be in the engineering space, and oil and gas industry? Have you seen any like AI, anything being incorporated or at least talks of it?
Yeah, for sure. We actually just opened up a new artificial intelligence department for my company. So it's kind of
Really?
strange because like before it was unheard of. It was just like an application. It was just a technology. But now we have a whole division of the company that's working towards developing this technology to keep building it and spreading it across different parts of our applications. So yeah, we use it a lot where I'm at. As far as automation, machine learning, optimizing our processes. Because I basically work at a chemical manufacturing facility, and a lot of our valves are automated valves. They control themselves, and they learn from like past data, on equipment, to basically diagnose when equipment is going to fail, and it can kind of predict, when you need to do maintenance on different things. Also,
Hmm.
in the housing industry, they use it a lot for like property management. They can put like these machine learning devices on like HVAC units, and they can tell whenever they're going to fail, whenever they need to change the filters, or if it just need to be PM, preventive maintenance on it. So it's already been being used a lot, in other, I guess lesser applications, but now it sounds like it's evolving at such a rate to where it's going to exponentially change from basically this next 3 years is going to be the amount of change that we had in the past 10, or maybe even the past 20, just the amount of change that we're going to have just because
Right.
technology is compounding on itself. Basically like when you invest in a stock and you get that compound interest, that's what's happening with the technology. So,
Right, absolutely. And as far as the industry I work in, as far as engineering aerospace, we definitely it's definitely being used in aerospace, right? Because now you're getting things like, for instance, like the Mars rover, right? That was launched to go and collect those samples from Mars. So for instance, and I worked on that while I was in college. And so part of that is actually machine learning. So I know the aerospace industry has been kind of using that, has using software code to be able to do that, right? But that's more so code and software being embedded into the hardware. But now we're talking about AI. Like, think about all those rovers, all those different expeditions that were sent out by NASA to Mars, and some of those, those vehicles are stuck, right? So shoot, over time, if you include AI, maybe get to the point where they able to learn, right, or with machine learning, be able to, get themselves unstuck, or be able to do different things while they're on those spaces that before we wouldn't be able to do. So that's just kind of one component, but I know for sure when it comes to like cybersecurity, all those different things, like aerospace is using all that stuff as well, in terms of AI. As far as financial services, the financial services space is kind of like the dinosaur. You know what I'm saying? They still kind of a little slow when it comes to doing certain things, but they're slowly but surely starting to implement, artificial intelligence and more technology into the space in
yeah, I
regards
heard
to
I heard they had like this thing where it's called like algorithmic trading, basically. Like they can use like algorithms to, I guess, monitor the market, and they can tell whenever stocks are going to fall or when they're going to, spike, and you can kind of put your trades in there, based on what the algorithm is telling you.
yeah. So actually, one of the companies that we actually work with, um, uh, I think that there is a software that something similar that they actually do use to be able to help manage assets. So when it comes to managing assets, being able to predict what's going to happen in the market, and as soon as it seems there's a specific trend, they'll be able to take those monies out and put them somewhere else to where hold it until then that market changes. So it's being, like I said, it's being used in a couple of different spaces. I know from a financial standpoint, the financial space, but I only expect it to kind of like I only expect it to, go a whole lot more. And they're probably using it right
Yeah,
now just to predict those stocks and everything and stuff
yeah.
like that. So,
I figured if they did have something like that, they probably wouldn't tell a lot of people either, or we wouldn't really know about it.
nah, not unless you're like you said, like you in that space and you just
Right.
know what's going on, but nobody really understands that. Yeah,
Because they
yeah.
probably using it a lot. I know for sure Ray Dalio using it 100%
Oh
because he
yeah,
because
most definitely.
that's what his whole company's based on. But
Now,
go
well, I'm about
ahead.
to say, what do you think? I'm about to say, what do you think in terms of the types of jobs that, like, what do you think the as far as impact? What do you think the AI sector? How what are the first few industries where you might start seeing, or maybe where have you seen already where AI is already
Yeah,
kind of impacting
I was
some
about to
stuff?
say I think we already kind of been seeing it so far, just with like as far as script writing and things like that. They had the whole writer strike out there by you, in Hollywood.
Hmm.
Um, cashiers for sure. Anything that has to do with like customer interaction or things like that. Maybe even like certain sales jobs. You know, they were
Hmm.
saying like retail sales is going to be hit. It's already kind of been hit.
Right.
You already got the self checkouts. You know, so a lot of those Walmart workers or people that you see like in Rouse's or any grocery store for that matter, is going to be impacted heavily by that. You know, because you got these machines that can basically restock inventory for you too. And
Yeah,
then
I
you
saw
got
that.
you got to think about waitresses and waiters too. Like they have restaurants that are fully AI and machine ran. You know, you might have
Mm.
one manager on shift, and then somebody can just load the food onto the robot, and the robot will take it to the exact table that it's supposed to go to. You know,
Yeah, I think when I was on, if I'm not mistaken, I think when I was out on vacation, I think I saw something like that where they had like trays like of
hmm
like food or like drinks was on there, and it was like a robot carrying it to the table. And I was
yeah,
like, hold up, bro, what is going on? And I'm like, dang, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, like AI is really about to take over. Even when you talk about the check-in counters at airports. Like I don't know if you know, and this what got me. I think Spirit is one of the only few companies I've seen that actually, airlines that actually have it from what I've seen, where they
mhm.
have basically like the whole automated
Like the whole
drop
process is automated
the whole
now.
process for checking your bag and dropping your bag. They may
Mhm.
just have one attendant there in case somebody needs to know how to use it, or if there's something that kind of messes up, like to maintain it. But as far as checking in and dropping your bag and stuff, like they had it all set up to where you
That's
scan
because
your passport, they print out your and
they
all
was
that.
having too many fights whenever they had employees running.
Yeah, Spirit is the modern is like it's like the Waffle House Airlines, low key.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
they just missing somebody smoking a cigarette at the counter at that point.
you you might catch your flight and an ass whooping at the same time.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, bro, AI is impacting a whole lot of different spaces, bro. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just spreads like wildfire. It's just that they're working out all those. I think they're working out all those different little kinks to see where it can be the most cost efficient, right? Because it does cost a lot of money, but then also being the most applicable. What makes sense to apply AI technology to? Because everything doesn't require AI technology, but what
So,
does?
but you know, they're going to use it as much as possible to take out the whole cost of having, you know, a person there, you know, a person that you have to
Absolutely.
constantly pay. Yep. But let's finish this video.
And that's part of the thing, right? Is that there's a time when GM was the largest employer, and the companies like GM was what employment looked like. If Facebook's what it looks like, the revenue per employee at Facebook is
Ridiculous.
infinitely larger
Right.
than any
But the
automaker could
difference
ever
is the
make, or any
time.
manufacturer could
The
make.
difference is the time lag, right? The timeline. So what took 20 years before and then became 10 could be 5 or 3. And so when you start getting that massive amount of disruption in employment, what do? The whole nature of employment is going to change. There aren't manufacturing jobs coming back. There aren't more coal mining jobs coming back. No matter what you do to the EPA, they are going to be, a lot of these jobs are going to be gone. Now, there's still physical things. If you do infrastructure, you can kind of, buy some time, right? Spend more, get temporary jobs to build roads, build bridges, which is all fine and good, right? I think you can get a return on much of those things. But you're going to have to recognize that there are going to be more people out of work. So,
Through this innovation.
Yeah.
So essentially what you're making the case for is education and job training for grown-ups.
No.
No?
No, I think that won't matter, right? What are you going to go back and learn to do?
What it takes, right? I mean,
What?
whether it's finance, whether it's software programming.
Finance, that's the easiest thing. You just take the data and have it spit out whatever you need, right? I personally think there's going to be a greater demand in 10 years for liberal arts majors than there were for programming majors, and maybe even engineering, because when the data is all being spit out for you, options are being spit out for you, you need a different perspective in order to have a different view of the data. And so having somebody who's more of a freer thinker, and because if automation is being automated, you just learn the tax rules. You just feed the automation the tax rules, and it does the rest for you.
So English majors of the world should celebrate?
I think English, philosophy, foreign language majors, maybe not now, they're going to starve for a while, but that's not even the real issue, right? The real issue is if 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million people have their jobs disrupted. And we see the direction everything is going and how quickly it's going. What are you going to do with them?
He really said, "What are you going to do with them?" and ended the video. That was the last words. If you
Oh, that
got
was the last part of the video?
that was it. He
Oh,
said,
that's
"You got
crazy.
5 million people out of work. What are you going to do with them?" That's a real question.
That is a
What do you
real
do?
question.
What do you do with them? Do you put them in a virtual, reality and give them a headset and tell them go live off the grid and just give them some food and water? Tell them live in a metaverse?
Like
Like,
what's their purpose? Like, you know what I'm saying? Where can they fit in? Whereas where one, like you said, the space gonna be taken up possibly by
right,
artificial intelligence, but then even the little spaces that are do need, people in it, right? Those spaces gonna be taken up because those are probably the most qualified people to do that job at the time. So it's like so you talk about you talk about the job market is it's gonna look crazy at that time. It's gonna look super crazy. So I just don't. But I think when it comes to when he mentioned about the liberal arts majors, English majors, whatever, um, I'm just trying to. I'm not really sure about where that's really applicable because I feel like even with AI, you can use AI. I mean, AI like Chat GPT already pulls from all these different sources, from all these great philosophers, books, and all these other different things, right? At the essentially, if you want to have somebody going to be more of a philosopher or a writer or something like that, they can even instead of having like publishers, you might only need yourself to publish your own book because AI is going to write your whole book or your whole script or whatever production, all that stuff.
you just
So it's
need
like,
some
okay,
print. You just need a printer.
you just right, and then maybe somebody to proofread and add a couple different, maybe edit it a little bit, depending on the language, right? To kind of go through proofread and fit the language for what it is that they're
Even
using
AI
it
can
for.
do that too.
Right, because all you got to do is put a prompt in and say, "Hey, do this again, but focus on this thing," and then it's going to
Yeah,
rewrite it because it can't take the same. AI is never going to take the same information that it's already spit out and spit it back to you, right?
right.
It's going to add a whole new set of information. So it's forever learning. It's artificial intelligence. Intelligence means to grow, to learn. So if
Mhm.
that's constantly doing that, then you're never going to get the same thing with what they're trying, whatever you're trying to do,
Right.
right? Even if you would have taken, honestly, now he's saying about it, I'm like, shoot, I'm looking at engineers, like, shoot, even with an engineering problem, it's like, hey, I can put a problem in there and then say, okay, I need a solution for this application, and it might give me something. And all I got to do as maybe a coder or a software engineer or whatever is go and prompt it to say, hey, don't focus on this, use this variable, switch this variable with this variable, or I need this
Right.
output based on this variable. And it's going to go and solve all that because at the end of the day, I think about my job as on the design team, right? I have the basic knowledge of the theory that's been and of the theory of the application. But at the end of the day, I put all of it into a program or into software that's going to create a 3D model, right, for me. So when you talk about, think about, having a problem, using that and being able to apply that to a 3D model, which can already take code and stuff like that. Sure, what an engineer gonna have to come into play at that point,
You basically
right?
bridging the gap at that point.
Right,
You
basically,
just making sure the model is doing what it needs to do, and if
to
it
do
made any mistakes, you're supposed to be the expert as far as knowing where the mistake was made. That way, you're not just going fully trusting this artificial thing, that's just using some kind of context that we're not even 100% fully aware of, really, unless you created your
right,
own model yourself and trained it yourself and
right,
built it yourself. You know,
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
but
So
yeah,
that's more. So you're gonna need people to monitor that process. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So
At that point, you're monitoring.
right,
You know,
yeah,
and that really devalues the, I guess, the amount of impact that you have at your job, and that might affect the pay that you get at that point.
yeah. That's what I was just about to say because if all you're
Right.
doing is monitoring, do I need to be paying you six figures to monitor something
Exactly.
that's doing all the work? Like, nah, bro, we about to cut all this. We're about to cut all these loose ends down here. We don't need. We got people that, especially think about manufacturing. Like, especially
Yes.
you think about manufacturing. Yeah, bro. Bro.
Because
Hey,
I'm in the manufacturing industry and I'm extremely, I guess, cautious of this technology because it can really impact, my future. So if I don't learn how to use it to my advantage and learn how to apply it to where I'm at right now, it's just gonna be I'm gonna be a slave to it at that point.
right. And
So,
especially
I gotta
in
get
the
in front of
space.
this thing.
Right,
Yeah,
especially talk about human error because human error is always a factor in manufacturing. Because I used to work in the factory. I used to be working as part of manufacturing, and it was
right.
always something with human error, whether somebody didn't read the drawing, or somebody skipped, or somebody misread something, or somebody just didn't follow the instructions to the T. Right
Exactly.
at that point, if you eliminate that human error when it comes to the execution, then now we're now eliminating uh the single point failure when it comes to now process. Okay, now it's like, okay, if there's not an issue there and it's automated, if that part's automated, now I know where to go to. It's something with the drawing. So who made the drawing? And then at some point you can probably make a algorithm or something like that to actually do the accurate drawing and do the drawing. So now we're just eliminating a lot of different loose ends when it comes to our manufacturing
Right.
process.
You're
So
extremely reducing the risk that you're taking on by doing that.
exactly.
Yeah, let's
Right.
knock out this video real quick. We ain't gotta watch the whole thing, but this is just to put things into perspective for everybody real quick.
Hey Digit, take the box with the heaviest animal and move it to Tower 4. This is Digit, a robot who sort of looks like a person, hence the name humanoid robot. Technically, these are called bipedal humanoid robots. Using semantic intelligence, it's able to interpret commands from people and then make its own decisions about how to act. So the goal is for him to be able to interpret normal human language, to say, hey, I need you to pick this box up, help me out in this instance. Is that where you see this going?
Yeah, and I think it will generally be probably less of a, I need you to do this one thing for me, and more of a, do this for me forever in the corner of the facility.
Robots like this one are catching the attention and billions of investment dollars from big tech companies like Amazon, Google, Nvidia, and Microsoft. Elon Musk is betting the future of Tesla on these machines.
As you see Optimus develop, it's really going to transform the world, I think, to a degree even greater than the cars.
Some also argue robots like Digit can solve the world's labor crisis, filling jobs that are too dangerous or that people simply don't want. They may even replace an aging workforce as people around the world have fewer kids.
Today in manufacturing, we're short about 300,000 people, and it's something very similar in warehousing and logistics. So we're somewhere around 700,000 jobs we can't fill.
The idea of robots isn't exactly new.
Here I am, sir.
You're on mute, brother.
I was just saying, honestly, we could just stop it right there. We ain't gotta go into all of this, the whole video, but that was just to kind of give you a visual of like what's being developed. Like he said, we 300,000 jobs short, on the manufacturing side. That's just one industry, one sector, of the industry right there. And it really eliminates a lot of the bottlenecks that these businesses been having. It makes them extremely more profitable. It makes their workforce more skilled, because right now we have a skill issue too. And that's something that we don't really talk about a lot. If you can program all the training that you need into a robot to do the specific job the exact same way every single time, versus trying to train a person, a human being that might not even be listening, or somebody who can, make a failure if they're too tired, or if they, just don't show up to work, like there's different factors that you got to take into account with human beings. So I think businesses are probably licking their chops right now and just saying, can y'all develop these things faster and faster? And they're probably the main people who are throwing money at these companies so that they can solve these problems, So,
Right. Absolutely. Now, when it comes to those 300,000 jobs, he said they can't fill them. So why do you think they can't fill those jobs? What do you think that reason is?
I don't think people want them. That's the main issue. I know at my facility specifically, sometimes we have issues filling certain positions, and it takes a longer time just because industry wide there's a shortage of skilled personnel, and there's a shortage of people who want to work those jobs and want to work those hours and do the type of work that we're asking them to do. you know.
Mm.
But back in the day, people really took pride in doing those kind of jobs. Like, a lot of people's parents
Technicians.
came from that, especially in Louisiana. That's where we're based off. A lot of our parents worked there, or a lot of our friends. We know people who worked at the plant, you
Right.
know. But now people
Absolutely.
look at working at the plant, they shaking their head like, I can't be out there in that heat all day or doing this and that,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Or they might miss some days, and then we gotta let them go. It's
Right.
certain factors, as far as just the new social and human condition right now. I think is a big issue. You know,
Yeah, because I don't see the next generation want to be those type of workers for real. Like they're
no,
trying to like the next generation is definitely trying to figure. I'm even thinking about a way where I can work, less and earn more. Right. I mean
right,
that's what business. I mean that's the whole point of being a business owner and people that want to get in these businesses and maintain their businesses, scale their businesses, is so they don't have to work. That's why
right,
these businesses, like you said, are licking their chops because like okay, if I can invest in that, it may, especially starting out, it may be be a little costly up front, but down the line, I'm going to save so much more money, right? Because
right,
I've seen it even in, like you said, the manufacturing space. Like if we would have solved these issues, if these certain little issues on the process side were solved and 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 figured out up front, then we would have saved a whole lot more money on the back end as opposed to trying to fix it now or later when we could have eliminated that up front. Like, and you can use AI to find out what those issues are if you're inputting the right data, right, and things like that. But that's something that they can actually start putting into place right now. Even trying to figure out where the elimination of that, like you said, the elimination of all those different things are going to happen. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And they
man.
would they would eliminate a whole bunch of costs. Like, one of the biggest costs on the maintenance side of any industrial facility is going to be the labor. The labor is
Absolutely.
extremely expensive. Paying multiple people hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some people, and then you got to add them overtime too, because once a human being works overtime, you got to pay them double. A
Right.
machine can work overtime, can work 24/7, and you don't have to pay them any more. You might have to
Mm-hmm.
just invest more into its maintenance and its upkeep, but you don't have to pay them like a different wage. So you're cutting a lot of costs there, and then also you're reducing the amount of safety incidents, which is a huge, I guess, price tag hitter for businesses as well. Because anytime you have a
Mm-hmm.
safety incident or environmental incident, you get fines that are associated with that. You got audits that are
Insurance.
associated with that. Insurance goes up. There's a bunch of costs, and your resources are all dedicated to doing investigations on what happened with this incident. But if it's a robot and the robot just fails, nobody's asking any questions. You just repair the robot and you keep going about your day, as long as nobody else got hurt, you know?
Right.
So,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. So I think the big question is what are people doing right now to prepare for that storm that's coming when it comes to artificial intelligence? Are people, is this the space? Are you learning to code? Right? Why don't you be the one creating the software that if it is now you just create a job, a skill. Now you have a skill that can now be applied to this new era that's kind of coming about. Right. And then not only that, but okay, if you are in that type of industry that could possibly be affected, are you in a financial position to make sure that you're good until you figure something out? That's another thing,
right.
right? So starting to plan for all these different things is going to be key, I think, to people being able to survive, because then
Yeah,
it's going to be get to a point of survivability, right? So like you said, if you got 3 to 5 million people that's out of work and ain't working, what you gonna do with them, right? So
exactly.
that's why it's important for people to get skills that they can use outside of their job, right? Get high net skills, right? That 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 those soft skills, right? That
Mhm.
don't generally come and can't be really taken over, right? That's why leadership in any industry gets paid the most, because at the end of the day, at least at this point right now, like on the not no iRobot stuff, but robots can't lead people right now, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So being in the leadership role, figuring out what are the leadership skills I need to be able to not only lead others in like a job setting, but just to be able to put myself in a position where I can help other people, get what they need. So now out that way, my business is running how it needs to. If you are trying to be a business owner, everything, but just really the whole thing is just getting those skills. That's going to set you
Right.
apart from everybody else. Because at the end of the day, that's what your livelihood is going to be dependent on your skills. Right?
Exactly.
So
If I had to say right now, I would say we have about 3 to 5 years to really get our stuff together and learn the skills that we need to set ourselves up for the future. Because I don't think it's going to
absolutely.
happen tomorrow or next year, but they're developing at a very fast pace. And if we don't catch on to it now, you are going to get left behind. And
Oh
they're
yeah.
not speaking about it much. They speak about it a little bit, but they're not really putting into perspective on how many people are really going to be impacted. Because if they did, it'd be a huge issue.
Oh yeah. There'll
It'll
be
be,
chaos.
yeah, it'll be a huge issue if they really pulled out the numbers on what's about to happen in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
So I would say learn how to work with the technology and work alongside the technology, and also learn the weaknesses of the technology. Really get a deep understanding of what it is, how it works, and the things that you can do to fill the gaps that the technology can't. So
Right.
basically, that'll be things like critical thinking. Right now, AI models, I would say one of their biggest weaknesses is probably like reasoning, and
Mhm.
really taking into account people and like all the perspectives that are associated with the full scope of the
Human
work.
nature.
Right.
Like understanding human nature. If you can understand human nature, then uh, then you'll be able to maneuver in different
Right.
spaces because at the end,
But
that's what
even
leadership is too.
but even with that, you got Elon Musk that's working on Neuralink, right? So
Right.
he's going to start getting into people's minds, and then he can use that data to start programming machines to understand human reasoning, human
Mm,
emotions, and human thinking. So a lot of these things are going to get, you know, improved and stepped on, and we just gonna have to grow and just become, I guess, partners with these things and learn how to really work with them, if we want to
right.
survive.
Man, look, just the other day I was like, damn, I need to go take like a boot camp on coding or something, like
Yeah.
just to be able to even just understand that.
Yeah. I started coding a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
Started,
yeah,
and I'm taking a AI course and a machine learning course right now.
nice,
So I've been
nice.
I've been learning a lot about it, and it's really interesting. And like, I think people are afraid, rightfully so, but I think there's a lot of things that once you really start getting into it, you're gonna understand more and see how humans are going to still be relevant with this technology. It
Right,
can't solve all the problems just yet. It's gonna take it a long time to get there, but
right.
it's still working that way.
Right, right, absolutely, absolutely. So in the comment section below, just make just comments if you have you guys experienced anything in terms of like seeing AI. What are some benefits? What do you think some benefits are? What are some cons you think? Where do you think where do you think the technology is going? What do you think we won't be at the next 5, 10 years when it comes to this issue, or when it comes to this topic right here? Because it's here. Like at one point, we thought it was a far distant like thing, and before I look up and I know it, they're already building robots. They're already building,
Yep.
artificial intelligence in cars and things like that. So we are way closer to the future that we thought we had, a whole lot sooner than we thought it was going to be. So, you got to definitely take that into account. But at the end of the day, just educate yourself on everything. Be prepared. Know how to do as much as you can because you need to learn how to pivot and adjust right with the times. So yeah, just drop a comment, like, and subscribe. But we're just here to put the information out and talk about this type of stuff because this is stuff that we have conversations about all the time. This stuff that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. And we're just here to educate and expose and give everybody that knowledge that they need. Um, but I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. What you got? Anything else?
Nope. Just keep learning, keep updating your skills, and don't be discouraged. Stay positive, and as long as you keep working, nothing can stop you. We in this together, so we're gonna be here, and we're gonna give you all the information we find. Just make sure y'all like and share this with somebody if you found it insightful, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're gonna have plenty more coming. Yep.